After a 2-week business trip to London, Samantha Johnson rubbed her tired eyes in the back seat of a yellow cab she caught from JFK. A message from her husband Jonathan in Singapore lit up her smartphone screen. "Did you arrive safely? Be careful. With this weather, the taxi might take a while." Samantha smiled faintly. Despite living in separate cities for half of their 5-year marriage, Jonathan's thoughtfulness remained unchanged. Perhaps it was the distance that made them cherish each other more. "I'll be home soon. I'll call you tomorrow." As she entered a quiet residential area on the Upper East Side, the snowfall intensified. About 4 inches of snow had already piled up beside the road, and the usually beautiful scene felt ominously different tonight. "This is fine here." The taxi stopped in front of the brownstone where she lived. As the driver got out to retrieve her suitcase from the trunk, Samantha noticed an unfamiliar BMW parked in her reserved space. "That's strange. No one should be parking there." After tipping the driver and watching the taxi leave, Samantha carefully walked down the snowy sidewalk. This apartment, bought by her grandmother 20 years ago and inherited by her 2 years prior, held a special place in her heart. Despite opposition from other heirs, her grandmother had clearly instructed in her will that the property be left to Samantha alone. Samantha needs this house. She needs a place of her own. A growing sense of unease struck her as she reached the entrance. The doorknob was different, and the lock was clearly new. Samantha pulled out her keys, but it was evident they were no longer useful. Just then, the sound of unlocking came from inside. As the door opened, Samantha felt a tight knot form in her stomach. "You're finally back." It was the voice she had despised from the bottom of her heart since her father's remarriage 10 years ago. Her half-brother Michael stood there as if he owned the place. "What is going on?" Samantha's voice was cold, unrelated to the chill. "Come in. I'll explain." Michael stepped back, leaving the door to the small hallway open. Samantha stepped forward and froze. The interior of her cherished apartment had been completely changed. Cheap, modern furniture replaced the antique pieces handed down from her grandmother's time, and the walls that once displayed cherished photos were now bare. Several pictures of unfamiliar children adorned the space instead. From the living room, the voice of a woman and the laughter of a child could be heard. Michael's wife Tiffany appeared, holding their 4-year-old son. "Oh, Samantha, welcome back." Tiffany's voice dripped with feigned familiarity. "We made a few changes. The old furniture was too dangerous for the children." Samantha was incredulous. "My old furniture? This is my apartment. Who gave you permission?" "It was Mom. We were in a bit of a bind. We needed a bigger place with the kid. Besides, you were going to Singapore, right? That doesn't give you the right to break into my home." Samantha pulled out her smartphone. "I'm calling the police." "Wait, are you going to bring the police into a family matter?" Samantha smirked. "You call us family? After treating me like an outsider for 10 years, trying to erase Dad's memory, and now you bring up family?" Tiffany clutched the child, her face mimicking sorrow. "Think of the child, Samantha. We're really struggling." "That's none of my concern. Tomorrow, I'll send an official notice through my lawyer. If you don't leave, I'll take legal action." She turned on her heel and walked into the snowy night. Behind her, Michael was shouting something, but she was no longer listening. In a taxi to the hotel, Samantha held back tears as she called her stepmother Isabella. She already knew this battle was just beginning. In a room at the Ritz-Carlton in Manhattan, Samantha stood by the window. Snow continued to fall outside, and people hurried to their destinations. The lights in the room were off, reflecting her tired expression in the window glass. She hesitated but pressed her stepmother's number. After 3 rings, Isabella's voice came through. "Well, Samantha, I finally hear from you." The usual feigned affection was evident in her voice. Samantha felt anger swell within her. "Explain, Isabella. Why are Michael and Tiffany in my apartment?" "Samantha, stop with the hostile attitude," Isabella scolded. "If your father were here, he would have wanted you to help the family. Don't bring Dad into this." Ever since he passed away, you've been trying to push me out of the family. Now you're talking about family." A moment of silence. Samantha could hear Isabella sighing on the other end of the phone. "You always act like the victim, Samantha. But think about it. Michael lost his job. Why didn't you tell me? Why did you let them into my apartment without consulting me?" "Oh, I did contact you. I left a voicemail and sent an email, but as usual, you didn't reply." Samantha checked her email. There was indeed a message from Isabella, but the subject was vague. About family matters. She hadn't even opened it. "And you're going to Singapore, right? I heard you're starting a new life there with Jonathan. It would be a waste to leave the apartment empty." "Who told you that?" "Michael. He spoke to your assistant." "My assistant? Who gave them permission?" Well, Isabella said hastily. "Don't get angry over such trivial things. What's important is what we do about the situation now. Michael and his family have children. Do you want to leave them out on the streets in New York winter?" Samantha took a deep breath. She could clearly sense the manipulation behind Isabella's words. "It wouldn't be my fault, even if that happens. It's not my concern if Michael lost his job or couldn't pay rent. Those are the consequences of their choices." How cold-hearted. "Is this what your father taught you? I don't remember raising a daughter who would abandon her family." "Now you're talking about values." Samantha chuckled bitterly. "Have you forgotten what you did after Dad died? Removing Dad's pictures, turning his study into your yoga room, trying to erase his memory. That's different." Isabella raised her voice. "I was just trying to move on. But you're always trapped in the past." "That's enough." Samantha hung up. Seconds later, the phone began to ring. It was Isabella. Samantha rejected the call and added her to the block list. She did the same with Michael's number. Her smartphone vibrated again, this time displaying an unknown number. Probably Tiffany. Ignoring the call, Samantha contacted the hotel reception via the room phone. "Please do not forward any calls to me tonight." After receiving confirmation, Samantha sat down on the bed. She began to organize her thoughts for the battle ahead. First, she needed to contact her lawyer to explore legal options. She also had to contact a real estate agent to check the current value of the apartment. Most importantly, she needed to explain the situation to Jonathan in Singapore. Samantha sighed deeply and dialed her husband's number. "Samantha? Are you okay? It's quite late." Jonathan's voice was laced with concern. "Jonathan, listen. Something terrible has happened." On the other end of the phone, Jonathan listened silently, a true sign of compassion, unlike Isabella or Michael. After finishing her story, Samantha felt a bit more settled. The fight ahead would not be easy, but at least she had real support. "I support your decision. If you need me, I'll come over right away." After hanging up, Samantha opened her laptop and began composing an email. The recipient was one of the most reputable real estate law firms in New York. She clearly stated in the subject line, "Seeking legal advice on unlawful occupation." The Manhattan police station was bustling early in the morning. Samantha explained the situation to a weary-looking officer at the front desk. "So your half-brother entered your apartment without your permission and changed the locks." The officer summarized with a hint of annoyance. "Yes, it's a case of unlawful entry. Sounds like a family issue. I recommend settling this civilly." Samantha had anticipated this response. Leaving the police station, the icy morning air stung her cheeks. Her smartphone screen showed several missed calls, numbers that seemed to be Tiffany's. Ignoring them all, Samantha dialed another number. "This is Anderson Law Firm. I have an appointment with Mr. Robert Anderson. I'm Samantha Johnson." 15 minutes later, Samantha was sitting in the reception area of a high-rise building in Midtown. Robert Anderson was a lawyer with the sharp gaze his reputation promised. "I understand the situation," Anderson said while reviewing documents. "First, could you show me the documents related to your father's estate?" Samantha pulled out documents from her briefcase. The estate division after her father's death. the agreement with her stepmother, and most importantly, her grandmother's will. As your grandmother has made it very clear, she intended to leave this apartment solely to you. Anderson remarked as he read the will. Yes, even against the objections of other heirs. And this is the record of your stepmother's financial transactions. Anderson picked up another document. Just a moment. This is... His expression changed. Samantha leaned forward. Did you find something? After your father's death, your stepmother has been regularly withdrawing funds from the estate. However, the uses of these funds are unnatural. What do you mean? There are records of transfers to multiple offshore accounts, and many of these transactions should have required your consent. Samantha felt anger swelling in her chest. I never gave my consent. I thought so. Anderson picked up a pen. This has become more than just a case of unlawful entry. There's a high possibility of embezzlement, and your half-brother's sudden financial distress. Are you suggesting there's a connection? We need to investigate, Anderson said cautiously. First, let's apply for a temporary restraining order. We'll legally demand their eviction from your apartment. At the same time, we'll start a detailed investigation of your stepmother's financial transactions. Samantha nodded. What about the costs? The retainer fee is $100,000. However, if embezzlement is proven, there's a high likelihood of recovering a much larger amount. Samantha immediately wrote a check. As she was leaving, Anderson called out to her. One more thing, Ms. Johnson. Yes, your stepmother and your half-brother probably aren't expecting you to take legal action. That element of surprise is our advantage. Samantha slightly smiled. I understand. As she left the office, she headed to her next appointment. It was with Diane Hansen, a top Manhattan real estate agent. Samantha, it's been a while. Diane greeted her warmly. The two were college classmates. What's happened? You made such a sudden appointment. Samantha briefly explained the situation. Diane's expression gradually brightened. The timing couldn't be better. The real estate value in your district has increased significantly over the past 2 years. And just last week, a very interesting buyer inquired. Who? A major investment fund. They're actively buying properties in the area. Even if your apartment is priced above market value, they would be happy to buy it. Samantha took a deep breath. Start the selling process. What about the current residents? They'll be evicted soon. Legal proceedings have already started. Late that afternoon, Samantha was in her hotel room, video calling Jonathan in Singapore. I think you're making the right decision. Jonathan's voice conveyed conviction. Yes, this time I'll fight. After hanging up, a new message arrived. It was from Anderson Law Firm. We found additional information regarding your stepmother's financial transactions. Can we meet first thing tomorrow morning? These are significant findings. Samantha replied and lay down on the bed. The next day, the real battle would begin. She just needed to rest well to prepare. Outside the window, the snow began to fall again. But this time, the scene felt less ominous. Instead, there was a refreshing sense of purification. The conference room at Anderson Law Firm was still dimly lit, except for the windows where the morning sun streamed in. Samantha sat at the large conference table, staring at the mountain of documents spread out before her. These are the complete records of your stepmother's financial transactions, Anderson said in a grave tone. We've investigated everything over the past 5 years. After your father's death, Isabella moved funds systematically. It started with small amounts but gradually increased. How much in total? Samantha's voice trembled. Over $2 million. Most of that money was moved without your consent. Interestingly, some of those funds flowed into Michael's personal account. Samantha gasped. Was Michael involved? Likely. His unemployment seems to have been due to embezzlement discovered at his company. We confirmed this with his former employer. A moment of silence dominated the room. Samantha gazed out the window, gathering her thoughts. What do you want to do? Anderson asked quietly. Samantha took a deep breath and resolved herself. I want everything to come to light, including the criminal charges. Understood. Let's start with the unlawful occupation. We have prepared new keys. An hour later, Samantha stood in front of her apartment. While waiting for the locksmith to finish installing the new locks, she made a final check on her phone. Everything is ready. Anderson's assistant informed her over the phone. The police are also on standby in case of any issues. Once the lock installation was complete, Samantha opened the door with her new keys. The sound of a television came from the living room. "Leave," Samantha said calmly. Michael and Tiffany turned around in surprise. "What?" Michael stood up. "How did you get in? This is my house. You have 1 week to leave. If you don't, I will take legal action." "That's impossible," Tiffany exclaimed. "We have children." "That's not all. Tiffany, did you know your husband was fired for embezzling at his company?" Michael's face was drained of color. "What are you?" "And that Isabella has embezzled over $2 million from Dad's estate. Some of that money went into your account." "That's a lie." Michael raised his voice. "I have all the evidence. Bank records, transaction histories, everything." Tiffany stared at Michael. Her expression slowly changed. "Michael, is this true?" "Tiffany, it's not what it looks like." "Is it true? Did you really embezzle?" Samantha silently observed their exchange. Doubt and anger mixed on Tiffany's face. "I'm taking the kids and going back to my parents' house. I can't stay with a liar." "Wait, Tiffany." But she was already heading to the children's room. The sound of packing began. Michael glared at Samantha. "What have you done?" "I just told her the truth. The truth about what you and Isabella have been doing." "Come on, give me some more time." 1 week, no more. "But..." "And Isabella will be arrested tomorrow." "For embezzlement." Michael's face went pale. "Arrested?" "Yes. The prosecution has already started moving. You'll likely be interrogated as an accomplice." At that moment, Tiffany returned, carrying a child and a small bag over her shoulder. "I called my parents. They're coming to pick us up." "Tiffany, let me explain." "Enough is enough. Goodbye, Michael." Samantha silently observed the exchange between the two. After Tiffany left with the children, a heavy silence filled the room. "Leave. Within a week. If you're not out by then, I'll call the police." That night, Samantha was in her hotel room, talking on the phone with Jonathan. "Is everything going as planned?" her husband asked. "Yes, but it's not over yet. Isabella's arrest is still pending. It will be over soon." Outside the window, the Manhattan skyline sparkled. Samantha sighed deeply. Indeed, this was the beginning of the end. However, the pain of her family's betrayal was still deeply etched in her heart. In the early morning, the tranquility of Manhattan's upscale residential area was shattered by a sound. It was the sound of multiple black SUVs pulling up in front of Isabella Johnson's mansion. "FBI, open the door, please." When Isabella opened the door, her makeup was already perfect. However, it would soon be ruined. "Isabella Johnson, you are under arrest for embezzlement and financial fraud." Samantha watched the scene from a car a few blocks away. Anderson was sitting next to her. "You don't seem surprised," the lawyer observed. "No, Isabella always cares about appearances. She wanted to make sure her makeup was perfect, even when being arrested." Isabella was handcuffed and put into an SUV as neighbors peeked through their windows. The fall of a woman once called the belle of Manhattan's social scene was witnessed by all. That afternoon, the New York Post broke the news. Socialite arrested for embezzling over $2 million, accused of stealing stepchild's inheritance, conspired with son. Samantha's smartphone was ringing non-stop. Reporters were bombarding her with inquiries. However, she declined all interviews. Instead, she opened just one message, from Michael. "I can't believe you actually went through with getting Mom arrested. I need to see you. There's something I need to say, one last time." Samantha stared at the screen for a long time. Then she sent a reply. Central Park, on the bench. In 1 hour. Central Park in winter was quiet, with few tourists around. Michael appeared in front of the bench where Samantha was sitting. His appearance had drastically changed in just 1 week. He had grown a scruffy beard and had bags under his eyes. "What did you want to talk about?" Samantha asked, suppressing her emotions. "I wanted to apologize. For everything. Now. I know." He sighed deeply. "But listen, Isabella. She used me." Samantha just stared at him silently. "It started with small amounts," Mom said. "It's your right. She secretly moved part of Dad's inheritance into my account. Then, the amounts got larger." Samantha finished for him. "Yes. By the time I realized it was too late to back out, the same thing happened at the company. That's why you were fired." Michael covered his face with his hands. "Tiffany has filed for divorce. She's asking for custody, too. That's only to be expected." Samantha's voice was cold. "I know. I brought this on myself." Michael looked up at the sky. "I'm going to talk to the prosecutors. I plan to cooperate fully. I'll tell them everything about Mom. To get a lighter sentence for yourself." "No, I want to do the right thing. It might be too late, but..." At that moment, Samantha's smartphone rang. It was Anderson. "Isabella has reserved her plea, but we have enough evidence. The prosecution is confident about the case." After hanging up, Michael stood up. "I have to go. I have an appointment with the prosecutor." He had walked a few steps when Samantha called out to him. "Michael." "What?" "Why?" Samantha's voice trembled slightly. "Why did you even go as far as my apartment?" "It was Mom's idea. She even forged your consent for the lock change. The contractor easily accepted the job because who would suspect a mother of trying to steal her daughter's house?" Michael answered without turning around. "She wanted to corner you into relinquishing your control over the inheritance. That way there'd be no risk of the embezzlement coming to light." With those words, Michael left. Late that night, Samantha sat alone at the hotel bar, sipping whiskey. The TV broadcasted news about Isabella's arrest. The defendant, investment banker Ms. Samantha Johnson, identified the fraud and reported it to the authorities, bringing to light years of embezzlement. The bartender reached to change the channel, but Samantha stopped him. "Leave it, please." She watched the screen, focusing on the image of Isabella in handcuffs. The stepmother she once feared was exposed as a pitiful fraud. Her smartphone vibrated. It was a message from Jonathan. "I'm coming back on tomorrow's flight. Let's get through this together." Samantha smiled faintly. Indeed, this was the beginning of the end. But it was also the beginning of a new chapter in her life. The next morning's newspaper featured a more detailed article. The Johnson case unveiled. Betrayal in high society, $2 million embezzlement, a family torn by greed, stepdaughter discusses a decade of deception. After reading the article, Samantha quietly closed the newspaper. Outside, a new day was dawning. 2 years later, the digital edition of the New York Times read, "Isabella Johnson sentenced to 7 years. $2 million embezzlement case. Appeal denied." Another tab showed a different article. Former finance elite starts new life at a used car dealership in New Jersey. Embezzlement accomplice on path to rehabilitation. Still care about it. Jonathan's voice came from behind. He gently placed his hand on her shoulder. "It's not that I care. I'm just making sure." Making sure. Yes. That my decision was right. Life in Singapore buzzed outside the office. Since the incident, Samantha had decided to start anew in this city. Her new role as the head of Merrill Lynch's Asia division brought a significant leap in her career. Her phone vibrated with a message from an unknown number. "I wanted to update you. I've completed a rehabilitation program and am living honestly now. I'm not asking for forgiveness, just wanted you to know. Michael." Samantha stared at the screen for a long time. "Going to reply?" Jonathan asked. "No. That chapter is over." That night, on her home balcony, Samantha drank wine alone. The Singapore skyline sparkled like scattered jewels. Another letter came, from Isabella. "Burn it. It might be different this time. She has terminal cancer." Samantha paused. "Really?" "Yes, she has 6 months left." Under the moonlight, Samantha's expression wavered, but it was only for a moment. "Still, it doesn't change the past. Just because she's dying doesn't erase what she did." "I know, I just wanted you to know you have a choice." Indeed, she had choices. She could meet Isabella one last time. She could attempt reconciliation. But was it truly necessary? The next morning, Samantha arrived at the office earlier than usual. Her secretary, Linda, handed her an envelope. "It's from Tiffany." Inside was a recent photo of Michael's ex-wife and son. The boy had grown up and was already in school. On the back, a brief note read, "Thank you for telling me the truth back then." Samantha stored the photo in her drawer. Tiffany had found a new life. Michael was facing his mistakes, and she herself had changed significantly over these 2 years. That evening, Samantha made an important decision: to return Isabella's letter unopened, with a short note attached. "I am no longer a part of your story. Are you sure?" Jonathan asked. "Yes, this is the path I've chosen." Over the weekend, Samantha and Jonathan enjoyed brunch on Sentosa Island. The warm sea breeze seemed to herald the arrival of a new season. "I have an idea for a new project," Samantha told him. "I'm thinking of starting a foundation to support victims of financial crimes." Jonathan's eyes lit up. "That's a wonderful idea." "Yes. I want to use my experience to help others." No shadow of the past was visible on her face anymore. Only the strength to look forward, and the freshness of a new purpose were evident. Her story was just beginning.